Alabama's WVUA News at 10.
And good evening. We begin tonight with a University of Alabama football player recovering from his injuries and two other men facing charges after a chaotic scene on Tuscaloosa Strip late last night. Details now in tonight's top story. Take a look at this exclusive video from WVUA. The Tuscaloosa Metro Homicide Unit's commander, Captain Lloyd Baker, says a fight broke out on the Tuscaloosa Strip just after 2 o'clock this morning. Crimson Tide receiver DeAndrew White was hospitalized after being injured. Investigators say a pair of suspects pulled out handguns and fired them into the air, allegedly trying to disperse the crowd.
Watch this right
here. Sometime during the first fight that happened in the 1300 block, two males arrived who had not been involved in the altercation. They both fired a pistol in the air, they say, to disperse the crowd. Both of those males have been charged with reckless endangerment.
And those two males are Ryan Jarvis Hamilton and Kwame Rakesh Tolbert. Officials say the suspects are not University of Alabama students. Also, a 31-year-old man was found unconscious laying on the sidewalk on University Boulevard. Captain Baker described his injuries as serious, although it's not known if his condition is related to the fight. Now, as we mentioned, Alabama wide receiver DeAndrew White was injured. Tonight, Nick Saban told reporters as Crimson Caravan stop in Atlanta that he visited with White this morning. Saban says he doesn't think his receiver will have any long-term problems. The coach added that he doesn't know the facts of the case, but his message is that everyone should learn a lesson from the incident. Meanwhile, the University of Alabama has released this statement about the incident. It says, in part, the security and the well-being of our students and employees is one of our highest priorities. Because of the potential ongoing threat to the campus and surrounding community, the UA deployed the UA alerts and our emergency notification alert system. When officers confirmed both suspects were in custody and the firearms had been recovered, UA used the same system to notify students and employees the threat of danger had passed. The statement comes from Deborah Lane, Assistant Vice President for University Relations. Also on your Crime Watch tonight, a Tuscaloosa teacher has been arrested for allegedly having a sexual relationship with a student. According to Tuscaloosa Police Sergeant Brent Blankney, the suspect was a teacher at Central High School at the time of the alleged incident. Authorities say Jennifer Hulk Elabash has been charged with attempted school employee engaging in a sex act, deviant sexual intercourse with a student under 19 years old, plus school employee having sexual contact with a student under the age of 19 years old, as well as harassment. Officials say the victim was a 16-year-old. Elabash turned herself in to police this morning on multiple warrants from the grand jury indictments. Authorities say the report was filed last October when a student reported the incident to police. Tuscaloosa City Schools says Elabash was removed from her position on September 30th, 2011 after the system's investigation. The statement said as a system, they were shocked and saddened by these allegations. In other news tonight, the Alabama football team spent the day in our nation's capital, one of the prizes awarded to the national champions of college football each year. But this season, the trip took on added meaning for the Tide. WVUA Sports Director Gary Harris joins us now with that story. Gary?
John, the football team was recognized today for their accomplishments on the field as well as the off-the-field ones. In a ceremony on the South Lawn, President Obama congratulated the Tide on their season, but also took a moment to commend them for their work in the community following the April 27th tornado. The president called it a fun season to watch, but also a deeply meaningful one. And some issues right there with that videotape. But I tell you what, coming up later on in sports, we're going to have much more from the Tide's trip to D.C., including why President Obama thinks the Tide's gift to him will prove to be very useful. John?
Okay, Gary, thank you very much. A bill that will make changes to Alabama's immigration law has cleared one part of the state legislature. The House approved the changes in a 64-34 vote that was split largely along party lines. Republicans were mostly in favor of the new measure, saying it will make the law easier to enforce and less burdensome for legal citizens and businesses. Many Democrats voted against the legislation, contending it is still wrong. The new bill now goes to the Senate for a vote. As the one-year mark of the April 27th tornado disaster in Tuscaloosa continues to draw closer, more businesses continue to reopen. This was the scene at Townsend BMW in Tuscaloosa tonight. The dealership, along with the Chamber of West Alabama, cut the ribbon to their new showroom and lot. Most of the buildings were damaged during the tornado and had been renovated since September, but contractors just recently put on the finishing touches. Before the tornado, both Townsend Nissan and BMW were located in the same building. Now the Nissan dealership is located on Skyland Boulevard. The grand reopening is just another sign of growth along Greensboro Avenue.
Every business just left the recovery areas, they wouldn't be able to rebuild. You know, people have to, whether it's Alberta City or the 10th Avenue Recovery Zone, we need businesses to stay and rebuild and reopen and you know, get those parts of town, you know, really moving again.
And a program is bringing people together to continue the rebuilding of storm-affected areas in West Alabama. The Home Builders Association of Tuscaloosa's Build Back Project House 2012 is an association program to build a safe and affordable home in storm-impacted areas. Today, they were in the Linwood Park subdivision installing a state-of-the-art storm shelter. Ground Zero Shelters is the company helping with the installation, and they say more of the public has become aware of their shelters.
A lot of the tornado victims that aren't aware of our shelters are becoming more aware of it. We've been into a lot of different states, even at the same time that tornadoes have been there, installing shelters. So getting the public aware of what our product is and how it works, along with the safety that it provides, is what we try to accomplish.
And this project will be approximately 1,350 square foot with 3 bedrooms and 3 baths. The home is expected to be finished by the first week in June. And we have a special programming note for you. Your home team will have special coverage all week leading up to the April 27th one-year mark. It all begins Monday when we are live from the Rosedale community. Tuesday, we'll have special coverage from the Forest Lake neighborhood. Our coverage continues on Wednesday from Alberta City, and Thursday, we're at Holt. It will all wrap up on Friday when we broadcast the city's memorial service live from Coleman Coliseum. We will have many special reports all week right here on WVUA News. Also, be sure to join WVUA Alabama's home team next week for a special presentation dedicated to everyone touched by the April 27th storms. Our 1-hour-long documentary, Faces of the Storm, will air every night next week. You can see it at 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and on Friday, April 27th. Faces of the Storm will air immediately following WVUA News at 6. This special presentation is a look at the people impacted by the storm and their stories of loss, survival, and hope. Faces of the Storm will be brought to you commercial-free with special thanks to DCH and Nucor. In other news, Alabama lawmakers take a step towards approving a tax holiday for severe weather and emergency supplies. The House has passed Tuscaloosa Representative Bill Poole's bill. Some of the items it would cover include weather radios, portable generators, smoke detectors, and first aid kits. If it's approved, the sales tax holiday would be held the last full weekend of February, which corresponds with Severe Weather Awareness Week. The bill now heads to the Senate for a vote. Also from the state legislature tonight, a Senate committee approved an education budget that cuts funds for K-12 schools and higher education next year. The Finance and Taxation Education Committee approved a $5.5 billion education budget for the 2012-2013 school year. That's about $150 million less than this year. Officials expect to take in about the same amount of education revenue next year, but a state law enacted in 2011 limits how much can be spent in order to build up the reserve. That's why the proposed budget is less. This proposed cuts K-12 schools just over 1% and universities by nearly 5%. On your home team education watch tonight, the discussion to make changes to class scheduling has been a hot topic at Tuscaloosa City School Board's meetings. And tonight, the pending decision to make changes had some parents, students, and faculty fired up at open work sessions at West Lawn Middle School. The board is currently considering moving the system from a 4-block per semester schedule to a 7-period schedule. Opponents of the decision say it will decrease the time that students have in the classroom and give them less time for extracurricular activities.
90 minutes for me, I get to feedback from my teacher. I get to actually learn the concept. We get to communicate back and forth with other students and see how they learn the subject. But in 47 minutes, you don't have that option. It's here, you learn this, and then here, try to do it at home. And if you don't get it, we may have time to do it tomorrow.
and the board will continue to debate the issue at its next regularly scheduled meeting on April 24th. Well, every year it seems like one thing that continues to catch up with college students and their parents off guard is the cost of books. Fortunately, University of Alabama students can get some help with that. The Student Helping Students Club put on an auction to help those in the College of Communication who are in need of book money. The money raised will go towards book scholarships. Although total is not in, organizers say enough funds have been raised for at least one scholarship.